We really need to talk about an illusion. It's this trap that so many of us fall into, and a lot of the time we don't even realize it's there.
You know the one I'm talking about, right? It's that quiet, nagging sense in the back of your mind that something's just not quite right, even when, on paper, everything should be going great.
And here's what's so confusing about it. This isn't the feeling of outright failure. Nope. In fact, you can be hitting your goals, you can be making real progress, and still feel this weight.
It's this deep down sense that you're somehow falling short, that you're not where you're supposed to be.
That's the word for it, behind. Behind your friends, behind your colleagues, maybe even behind your own expectations. It's a heavy feeling, for sure. And today, we're going to take it apart piece by piece.
All right, so how does this feeling actually show up in our lives? Well, it often feels like we're in some kind of race, an invisible competition that we feel like we're constantly losing.
And this is the real paradox, isn't it? From the outside, your life probably looks totally fine. You're getting things done, you're improving. But inside, it just doesn't feel like progress. It feels like you're just desperately trying to keep up in this exhausting race you never even signed up for. So what do? Naturally, we try to run faster. We push ourselves harder. But that's exactly where the trap snaps shut. Welcome, my friends, to the comparison treadmill.
Here is the fundamental flaw in our thinking, the reason this whole thing feels so bad. We're not comparing reality to reality. Oh no. We are comparing our full, messy, complicated reality, with all the doubts, the setbacks, the messy middle, to someone else's perfectly curated highlight reel. Because that highlight reel, it conveniently leaves all the tough stuff on the cutting room floor. You just don't see their own uncertainty, their own failures, the mountain of debt they took on for that perfect house, or the trade-offs they had to make for that big promotion. You're basically comparing your raw, behind-the-scenes footage to their final edited movie trailer. It's not a fair fight. And that is the psychological treadmill. You see someone who looks like they're ahead, so you start running faster. But the finish line just keeps moving, because guess what? There's always someone else a little further along. It's a game that is absolutely rigged for you to lose. So why on earth do we do this to ourselves? Is it some kind of personal flaw? No. It actually turns out this is a built-in feature of our brain's ancient operating system. You could call it a glitch in the modern world. The official term is social comparison. See, our brains are literally hardwired to figure out our worth and our status relative to the people around us. It's not designed to ask, hey, am I improving? It's designed to ask, how am I stacking up against the rest of the tribe? Now, way back in our evolutionary past, this was a critical survival skill. Your tribe was small, maybe 150 people, and the comparisons were actually relevant to your survival. But now, your brain's ancient software is running on a high-speed internet connection. And instead of a small tribe, it's comparing you to thousands, millions even, of completely irrelevant people online. It is completely and totally overloaded. And here is the most dangerous part of this glitch. Your brain doesn't compare evenly across the board. Nope. It almost always compares upward to the people who seem to be doing better, who seem to be ahead of you. This basically guarantees a constant feeling of being not good enough, not because you're actually failing, but because the system is designed to find what you're lacking. Okay, so if the problem is basically a glitch in our brain software, how in the world do we fix it? Well, this is where we get to the good stuff, the solution. And it's not about running faster, it's about understanding that the frame is everything. And if you remember one thing, please let it be this. That feeling of being behind, it has almost nothing to do with your actual, real-world progress. It is simply a reflection of the frame you were using to compare yourself. That's it. So what happens when you consciously decide to change that frame? I mean, what if you just pick a new reference point? The effect is immediate and it is powerful. When you compare yourself to some external, idealized version of success, your real progress feels tiny, insignificant. It just creates anxiety. But when you reframe it and you compare yourself to your past self, to who you were a year ago or 5 years ago, that exact same progress suddenly feels substantial. It feels real. It creates pride and motivation. Same facts, totally different feeling.
What this means is that you have the power to take back control. It's all about consciously choosing your own path and, maybe more importantly, choosing your own yardstick to measure it with. So here's the game plan. First, narrow your field. Just stop trying to compete with the entire internet. Second, and this is the big one, compare internally. Measure yourself against who you were yesterday. Third, reduce your exposure. Curate your social media. Protect your focus. And finally, zoom out. Look at your progress in terms of years, not days. That's how you'll see the real story of your growth.
So let's bring this all home. Here is the single most important takeaway from all of this. You were never actually behind. That entire feeling was an illusion. It was created by measuring yourself against a distorted, completely unrealistic, and totally irrelevant standard. The problem wasn't you, it was the ruler you were using. You are on your own unique path. It has its own timing, its own set of challenges, and its own victories. And that is the only path, the only race that truly actually matters. So from now on, the question to ask yourself isn't, am I behind? The real question is this: am I moving forward on my own path? And if the answer is yes, then you are exactly where you need to be.